paradise. You felt the rhythm. Now let's make sure you say it right.
My name is Florian. I'm from the beautiful Aida Perla cruise ship. So today, like we Germans say, we are in Grenada. But I heard in English it's called Grenada.
Say it right. Grenada.
Say it right.
Grenada.
That's right. Grenada. There we go. Say it right. It's Grenada. It's not Grenada. It's Grenada. Say it right.
We say welcome to our listeners, welcome to our viewers. It's To The Point, Classic Radio GBN TV, Wednesday, the 3rd of June, 2026. Good morning to those of you listening and viewing via our social media platforms. Good morning and welcome. I'm your host, GT. With us this morning, of course, here are folks representing from the Grenada Parliamentary Elections Office. I think I can see it in that particular way, right?
Yes.
Good morning. Well, we do have the Supervisor of Election with us. Of course, we're not going to make a formal introduction with us this morning. I missed out on the other guest names, but of course, he will certainly introduce himself also. Gentlemen, I'll let you go forward and introduce yourselves, and then we're getting to the meat of the matter.
Yes, of course. Good morning, and good morning, Grenada. Good morning to all the listening fans of GBN. My name is Arthur Pierre, and I am the Supervisor of Elections, and with me, Mr. Ferdinand Phillip, and he is the Civic and Voter Registration Officer. We had to bring him back because we were looking for persons to assist us, and of course he graciously agreed to. For want of a better word, he is the person that handles PR for the office. Okay. All right. So we are here to discuss things electoral. We are coming up to that time. It's about 1 year ago that we had elections, and we are coming up to that time.
A year ago?
Yes, a year ago. We are in June.
You're in June?
Yes.
A year too.
And I know that there are some anxieties and so forth out there, and there are some things that we need to kind of put to rest.
Of course, I hope we get some of these concerns cleared up this morning.
I really hope so.
Sometimes folks do make statements, and sometimes they need that clarification from folks who are at the helms of things in order to get that clarification in terms of the information that we're hearing out there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to kick off the conversation this morning in terms of voters registration.
Right.
I want to start there for various reasons, because you hear the conversation from time to time. Continuous registration is going on. You hear that. You hear the conversation of a couple of days ago. I had someone calling and making the statement that is it folks who are of course not living in Grenada? Could they register and so forth? So we need those clarification.
Right.
Let's kick it off with continuous registration. How would registration? Talk to me in terms of when they say continuous registration from the electoral office point of view.
Okay, so there's a difference between what is called enumeration and continuous registration. After any election, we go into what is called continuous registration.
Yes.
So there is not one particular time that is set aside for registration. Registration continues to happen until the next general election. Okay, so persons, they are electoral officers in the various constituencies.
Yes.
All right, and persons can go there and get registered. Okay, they can go there and get registered. Now, getting registered means two things. One, your name is placed on the electoral list.
Yeah.
And two, you are issued a voter's ID card. Okay, you are issued a voter's ID card. So that basically covers, in a nutshell, the issue of registration or continuous registration. It is ongoing. There is no period of time when it would stop for whatever legal reason or anything like that. It is constant. It is ongoing.
All right. My next questions will go like this. What specific mechanism are in place, especially for auditing and the voter registration and address concerns? We hear those conversations from time to time regarding the legitimacy of the residents' claims within particular constituencies, per se.
Okay, so we produce the electoral list.
Yeah.
And we publish the comprehensive electoral list, for want of a better word, twice a year.
Yes.
Okay, so we at the end of June we're supposed to be publishing that consolidated list. All right, what we are asking persons to do is to go and check the list. One, to find their name. Two, to find out if there are persons on that list that should not be there. All right, they might, and there are two things that we would get into, and maybe we get into a little further. If there is somebody that would have died, that name needs to be removed. That name needs to be removed. Now, I always tell people there would always be dead persons on the list.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say at the end of June we probably publish the consolidated list, and persons would have died the day that we publish it. Or persons would have died the day after we publish it. Okay?
Or days before.
Or days before, or a week before. You understand? What I'm saying is that we have to verify.
Yeah.
It is, and this is stated in law. We can't just say, okay, this person dead, so let me take them off. No. There must be a verification process. And births and deaths assist us in that verification.
Yes.
So you may come and say, look, I see 3 persons from my village died and they're still on the list. And I say, okay, fine. We welcome the objection, because you have to go through an objection. And we would say, okay, let us now go to births and deaths. And births and deaths would give us information twice a year as well.
Okay.
All right. So when we go to births and deaths, and we look at the thing, I say, oh yes, well these are the 3 persons, but we have the verification, because this is the list that the official list of persons that died, that we can now compare to what we have, and then the name is removed.
Does time factor play a crucial role in that, especially as we're drawing closer to elections and so forth? No. Time factor in terms of where folks would have the option of scrutinizing the list,
yes,
making sure.
Right.
What does the time factor? How does the time factor plays in this?
So, and the time factor plays as it relates to objections.
Yes.
You have a week or 7 days in which to raise an objection.
Okay.
All right. There's is
that before or after the list has been?
After the list has been. So when the list is published, you have 7 days.
Yes.
To raise an objection.
Yes.
All right. And that objection is tabled at the electoral office in your constituency, and the registration officer would bring it forward. Okay. That investigation will be done by the electoral officer, by the registration officer, and if, for example, that objection is upheld, that person's name is removed.
All right.
Okay, so that is basically the mechanism of perusing the list, raising the objection, and doing the investigation to ensure that what the person is saying, the objection that the person is saying, is actually valid.
Who's responsible for raising those concerns? Is it anyone within the constituency?
Yes, you can raise a concern. Right? Anybody within the constituency can raise a concern.
All right. Anything you want to add to that?
Yes, I would also like to quickly say, in terms of, because we're speaking about the vetting of the list and to ensure that it's as accurate as possible. On the issue of dead persons or persons who are no longer alive being on that list, we must, acknowledge the fact here that there are quite a few persons who are registered on that list who live away and possibly die away, and they are not brought back to Grenada.
Okay.
It poses a challenge to us to capture these persons. So it supports what the supervisor just indicated here, that we are always going to be challenged with that, with having persons who are no longer alive but are on the list. One of the things, even in the cases where persons die and their bodies are repatriated to Grenada, we depend on the funeral agencies, and I think sometimes if the setback happens there, where that information is not communicated, because if we depend upon what Births and Deaths gives to us, and it's not communicated to Births and Deaths, then we cannot capture that, save depending on the general public who are asked to scrutinize the list, because you, the general public, play a very important role in the process. Sometimes we don't think that we do, but we play a very important role. We are informal, but we do. And so what persons are always encouraged to do, and they have done it up to this year on more than one occasion, persons have called in and say, listen, this is my family, the person is DEAD, and so forth, confirmed, and we take it from there. So, but just to give the idea that sometimes persons lash us with an unfair pen because we have dead persons on the list, and it will always happen. Because, and I think not only in Grenada, but in other territories, the fact that persons may die out of state, and the ability to capture these is a challenge, and so forth. But when we do discover them, we can assure you that all necessary provisions are made to have those persons removed.
All right. There's always that public concerns regarding those last-minute voters transfers. We hear that from time to time. How will your office and other political parties, per se, and civil society and so forth, have adequate time to verify that final consolidated list, for election? Just say before polling day.
Well, as we publish this, we also publish addendums.
Yes.
Okay. Every 3 months, we publish an addendum. So an addendum is persons that we would have, new persons that have been registered, that needs to be added to the list. We need to publish the persons that are aware. Now, we have been advising persons from the beginning of, I think it was April or May. I went out talking to the general public about registration and the fact that they need to come and get registered. Now, Grenadians are such a last-minute people. I'm sorry to make that judgment, but
it's factual.
I don't. Right? We like last minute, and even in the last general election, there were persons outside electoral offices late into the night trying to get registered. Okay, what we are saying: avoid the rush. Get registered now. Okay? Now, when we do things last minute, a lot of times there isn't enough time to do a proper investigation to ensure that we have the right persons. But the fact is that we cannot prevent persons from being registered.
Yes.
Right? We do the registration. The objection would come. All right, and then we do the investigation. But if, for example, you do that last minute, that week for raising objection and all of that, when that list is published just before election, there's nothing that we can possibly do to properly investigate and properly rectify the issue. So we are saying, come get registered now.
All right. There have been conversation you hear from time via social media and other engagements that you hear. There are issues with the voter registration system. Right. Maybe you could offer some clarification on that for us this morning. Being the supervisor of election, is there an issue with the voter registration system?
Currently, no. We have had some challenges this year. Okay? We have had some challenges, and I'll be as truthful and as blunt as I possibly can. We have had some challenges. At the beginning of the year, because of a date change and a switching over of the date, the system said, look, I don't understand this date, so let me close down. We were able to get that back up and running within a couple of days.
Okay.
After that, the longest period for this year that the system was not the system per se, but we were unable to do registration is because of our service provider. All right, there were 3 offices: Carriacou, St. Mark's, and St. David's. The offices up there
had a problem because of the service provider. We have to use internet service. Okay. All right? So because of the service provider, they were switching over from one system to another, and that created some problems for us. And now that became, I became extremely anxious, and I was making calls every day just to try to get that system up and running. Eventually, they got it up. So St. David's went up, St. Mark's went up, Carriacou, there was a problem. Carriacou was actually down for about 2 months. Okay. Simply because of the fact that they were using wireless internet. And there was a building that was erected, because Carriacou is building back, a building that was erected in the path, and we had to switch over to hardwire internet. So there was a problem there. But all for now, the system is functional throughout all of the constituency offices. All of them, they are functional. All
right. Gentlemen, we drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. To the point. Classic Radio GBN TV. We will be right back. Don't touch.
Grenadians at home and abroad, the National Democratic Congress proudly invites you to the mega rally on Sunday, 21st of June. Under the theme, 4 years stronger, you, me, us. You, because we care. Me, because I have a responsibility. And us, because we all have a part to play in building Grenada. Bring your flags, bring your family, bring your yellow, and be a part of the 4-year celebration, transforming Grenada's future. Sunday, 21st of June, at 5 p.m., Monrouge Plain Field comes alive. NDC Mega Rally. You, me, us.
When the man say that he blacking out, what you think it gets? Yellow fever. Yellow fever.
The Ministry of Agriculture White Potato Production Initiative is an OECS sub-regional project aimed at reducing Grenada's reliance on imported white potatoes, which in 2025 had an imported value of over 4.5 million EC dollars. The White Potato Production Initiative is part of the Ministry of Agriculture's food security drive and is being undertaken with the simultaneous cultivation of other crops such as sweet potatoes, pineapples, coconuts, carrots, and other vegetables. Other OECS countries like Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines are already at an advanced stage in white potato production, with Dominica completely cutting the import of white potatoes during the first quarter of 2026. Grenada is now preparing to advance production for better output in 2027. The Ministry of Agriculture, Lands and Forestry, ensuring food and nutrition security for all.
Building or renovating your home or business? Why not use clean, renewable energy? Install solar panels to power your home and office and see your energy costs go down and your savings go up. Using renewable solar-powered energy protects our environment, reduces our carbon footprint, and slows the devastating impact of climate change. Republic Bank can help to finance construction and renovations that make use of renewable energy. Visit any Republic Bank branch and ask about renewable energy financing options today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Hey everyone, here is an invitation to join me this and every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on GBN Television 711 K105 FM, our Facebook page and YouTube channel for Kaiso Talk. Meet the Kaisonians, hear their stories, feel the vibes. Kaiso Talk, Wednesdays 8:30 p.m. Compliments for Grenville Credit Union.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. Of course, gentlemen, welcome back to today's edition of To The Point. I want to jump directly into a conversation that we hear from time to time. How is the office systematically handling, when it comes to expired voters' identification cards? Sometimes we're going to have regional observers, previously flagged that as a primary concern from time to time. We hear folks talking in relation to that, especially around the last election. Talk to me in relation. How is the system dealing with that?
Right. Okay, so as a person gets registered and they are issued an ID card.
Yeah.
That ID card is valid for 10 years. Okay? Now, a lot of things could happen between then until the date of expiration. You could lose it. It could burn. It could drown. It could, right? All of those things. Now, if your ID card has expired, let's say in 2026, all right, you go back to your electoral office and you say, look, I would like to get my card renewed. Yes. All right, they will take your information. Yes, we have information there, but you have to now to say, okay, I'm still the person that I said I was.
Could this be deemed as a re-registration process?
That's right. So there's no charge for that. Okay. Sometimes the person's name might change. The person's address might change. Okay, and as long as they bring the necessary documentation to prove those changes, we take it, we process it, and we issue you a new card. Now, let's say your card was burnt, your house burned, God forbid, or you lost the card. You now have to pay a fee of $20. Okay. Again, you would fill out a reissuance form, all right, and you go through the same process. You bring your whatever supporting documentation that you need to bring, and you are issued a new ID card.
Okay.
Now, as it relates to card, a lot of money has been spent to produce the card. Right? A lot of money has been spent to produce the card. And currently, we have more than 2,000 cards sitting in the electoral offices for persons to come and collect. Now, I've heard persons saying, boy, I can't get a card, and they're taking too long, and all of that, and all of that, and all of that. Persons need to come in person. If you take out a card, all right, you went in person to get the card, not so?
Yes.
Right. So you have to go now in person because they have to prove that you are the person who is coming to collect the card. Yes, they may give you a slip of paper saying, okay, you'll come back to collect your card whenever. But you have to also give your biometrics to ensure that that card that they issued is the card that the person has applied for. Okay.
So technically, you're saying no one can send someone.
No. I cannot send somebody to collect my card. Yeah. We cannot do that. That does not happen. And there are persons who have requested that, and we say no, we can't do that. Okay. Because biometrics, you must be resident in country and resident in front of the assistant registration officer to be able to collect your card. But we have a lot of cards, and we are asking the general public to go back to your constituency offices, electoral offices, to collect your cards.
All right. There's a question I want to ask. I know it's probably you have heard it time from time again, but who can register?
Right, so
in Grenada.
Right, so
because when I say that, you hear I've been hearing conversation. Folks are returning and getting registered and stuff like that. Maybe you could free up that conversation just a wee bit. And who can register?
Right. So for me to free that up, I would invite Mr. Phillip to add to this, but I would read directly from the law. That is Cap 286. Section, let me get the correct section, Part 3, Section 6, entitlement to registration, and I'll read verbatim. Subject to Section 7, a person shall be entitled to be registered as an elector in any one constituency if he, A, is a citizen of Grenada, B, is a Commonwealth citizen who has resided in Grenada for a period of at least 12 months,
immediately before the date of his registration. Immediately before the date of his registration. So that for the Commonwealth citizen, that person has to be there 12 months is a year before the date of his registration. So if for example, he as soon as the date of registration, let's say the year passed on this date, he can go and get registered tomorrow.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? The date of his registration. C has attained the age of 18 years. And D is ordinarily resident in that constituency. So there are a few things in the bottom here I just want to read. For the purpose of registration under this Act and the rules, a person is deemed subject to this Act to reside in the polling division in which he is ordinarily resident immediately prior to his registration. Number 3, a person not ordinarily resident in a polling division. A person is not ordinarily resident in a polling division if he has taken up residence in that polling division for the purpose of engagement in any employment, engaging in any employment of a temporary or seasonal nature. So if you're from Grenville, you're working in St. George's, all right. You'll not be ordinarily resident in St. George's. Okay. You are just working there. And for number 4, for the purpose of registration under this Act and the rules, a person may be ordinarily resident in only one polling division at any particular time. I know if Mr. Ferdinand would have...
of course, would want to expand in any way in terms of what was mentioned.
Yeah, one of the things that the supervisor indicated is that persons can only be resident in one particular place at a time. Only one particular locale. He also highlighted the fact that you must be in person. So a person should be guided that you cannot come to the head office and get registered. The system does not recognize head office. It recognizes constituency, a particular, and the nation is mapped out geographically. So, for example, and let me use the example I normally use, Mardi Gras in St. George. Mardi Gras, the community of Mardi Gras lies both in St. George Southeast and in St. David. Now, several years ago, persons who lived in Mardi Gras St. David went to the constituency in Mardi Gras St. George's, St. George Southeast, and got registered. Now, it wasn't flagged then, but due to the diligence of the general public, as Supervisor indicated, you are responsible for perusing that list and, if needs be, raising claims or objections. Persons discovered that there were people living in Mardi Gras St. David who were registered in Mardi Gras St. George's. Now, when an election comes around, if this was not rectified, these persons living in St. David would be given a voting station in St. George's. Persons identified that there were quite a few persons, and they highlighted it, and the due process was carried out. Such persons were contacted. They were told that they were to be removed from the list, and they had to go back to their respective office in St. David. So it is the Pedmota, downstairs the Pedmota, in Pedmota, downstairs the communal building, I think the cooperative credit union there, and they had to do the registration there. So you are only allowed to be registered in one particular constituency, and through the interaction of the general public, you are placed in your correct constituency. So we want persons to be aware of that. It's not just directly pertaining to the question that was asked about ordinary residents or who could get registered. Everyone plays a part in that whole process. And these things are vitally important for us. So you would notice that on several occasions, when we engage the public, we are not just trashing out a batch of information. We are letting the public know of their rights and their responsibilities read this whole process. And the process is not something that we just conjure out of our head. These are legislated directions. They are acts that are passed, there are laws that are made in Parliament among our legislature. We only interpret what is before us for the benefit of the general public.
Okay, great. I want to talk a wee bit about recruiting, of course, training schedules and so forth in reference to, returning officers and presiding officers and so forth. Talk to me about that. How's that process going thus far?
Okay, so a returning officer. Who is a returning officer? You hear registration officer and you hear returning. Now, somewhere along the line, we have had 4 years of 4 years ago, election took place. As a matter of fact, on the 23rd of June this year, it will be the 4-year anniversary. Yes. We know we are in an election season because you realize everybody is, very active right now,
yes,
and so forth. So, what tends to happen is that the GG, the Governor General, is going to issue a writ. Okay, the Prime Minister, whose right it is to call the election, he's going to call the election. The Governor General is going to issue a writ. And these writs, it wouldn't be a writ. There will be 15 writs because there are 15 constituencies. So every constituency receives a writ. The person who receives the writ is that person who will conduct that election in that constituency for that period of time. That person takes an oath and they are then referred to as a returning officer. Usually, it is the registration officer who takes that oath and is referred to as the returning officer for that period of time. Now, why is he called returning officer? Because he has been handed something which, at the end of that election, he has to return to the Governor General.
Okay.
So the registration officer is now referred to as the returning officer. Now, if for some other reason the registration officer is incapacitated or unable to conduct the role of returning officer, the supervisor of election may appoint someone else. Well, I should say the Governor General may appoint someone else. But generally, it is the registration officer who is then referred to as the returning officer. And so that person conducts that election. What do? They ensure that the general public is brought up to speed. The whole process of what the supervisor would have explained a while ago, in terms of getting that list ready, getting that finally revised list. The political parties are up and about, making their noise, trying to get persons to support them. All of these things happen around that time, but all boiling down to a general election. The office, we are tasked with the responsibility of conducting that election. The supervisor, you say the office, you say the supervisor of elections, they are interchangeable and so forth, but we are the ones that are responsible for that. And so we seek to get everyone on board. We seek to get all our structures in place, and we may be talking here, but there are a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that persons may not be aware of, and so forth. The ink, for example, I use the example. You cannot just say, okay, election is going to be next month. Let me try to source the ink maybe in the next 2 weeks. It takes months. It's not ordinary ink. It comes from very specialized producers.
Indelible ink.
Indelible, thank you very much. And it takes months to secure. Yeah. Okay? Just that. Even the cards that are produced, the laminates, all these things. So it's a lot that is involved. What needs to be publicized, we publicize it. But there are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that may be made dull and dreary in the sight of the public, but they are quite necessary for the cohesive functioning of the office.
All right. Public education plays an important role.
Oh, just before, I just want to add one thing to the same question. We have started one identifying persons.
Yeah.
For presiding officer. Now, a presiding officer would be that officer that would be responsible for the polling station and division. So we have started an initial meeting. We have met, we have a registration process where persons would give their email address, telephone number, those kind of details. We have started, we have met with all
all the constituencies, in the first meeting, all the potential presiding officers and poll clerks. All right? A poll clerk would be that person that would assist in taking the notes and so in ensuring that poll book is done, so that proper accountability of the vote is taken. Okay, so we have started, and we will continue to train and continue to inform these persons so that they can be ready for the day of election. So
that voluntary
yes, it's a voluntary service.
All right, great.
Yeah.
As I was speaking before, you got to that point in terms of public education. Talk to what targeted voters education initiative is ongoing right now?
That was a funny question.
Okay, it falls in my domain. What it builds. It's growing to what we call a crescendo. We are on the radio. We are on several of the media houses.
That's what we're doing now.
As we go forward, we are going to be, to a greater degree, engaging the television stations. We are looking at doing. I think we are almost complete with the revamp of our website, peo.org. I've seen the preliminary status of it, and it looks quite user friendly, I must say. We have just last week, because the RGPF, they are referred to as special electors, and so we had our first engagement for the last few years with them last week, and there are 47 recruits, and it was a well received encounter. And we do plan further engagements with them, because they, as I say, they do not appear on a general list.
Okay.
They appear on a separate internal list to the RGPF. Also, we are about to roll out the education to our young persons. Now, what we tend to bracket persons into age categories. So one of the most prolific category that we receive applications from are the 18 to 21 year olds. One of the age of the minimum age for registration is 18. So we have quite a few persons that are under 18 who would shortly be turning 18. And these persons usually are excited to get registered. What's the best place to meet them? At schools, at institutions of learning. Yes, some of them may not be at that age in school, but generally, by and large, the bulk of them are there. So one of the things we have done, we have initiated, and I guess some persons may have seen it in the media, that the ministry has given permission to go out into schools and to do public education. What we are targeting are the 16 to 18 year olds. You may say, why 16? Yeah. Because 16 is not
16. Can we say they're not
far from 18. And you don't want to wait until they reach 18 to then start to build in them that sense of patriotism. You want to allow them to know. I could remember when I got my first card, there was no patriotism in me,
Yeah.
I thought, wow, I have arrived. I'm an adult now. And so you target them at that age. And, so we have gotten permission from the ministry. And so we are in the process of contacting all of our secondary schools and tertiary where possible to meet our young persons and to allow them to know their rights and their responsibilities. I must say, in saying that, unfortunately, some persons have gotten it wrong, and I think it's a genuine error on their part, because you have seen it on Facebook that it is a political thing where we are trying to capture in an unfair manner the minds of our young people, and I must say that there's no politics in that. There's absolutely no part. This has been done quite a few times. I've been at the office from 2013. It has been done quite a few times, and some persons have indicated to me, persons in their 50s, that even in their childhood days at secondary schools, they could remember persons engaging them with this very purpose in mind. So, we are appealing to the general public, even as we say that, to not malign the process. You're shooting yourself in your own foot. When there are genuine issues to be highlighted, highlight them. But please, give some thought to what you are saying, because you may really be destroying the very, they use the term and say we like what we hate. We don't want to be of that nature. Excuse me, that nature. So we are doing quite a bit, and we intend to build upon it, the whole education process.
All right. We drew for a break, but I want to ask you this. In terms of statistics, in terms of registration, what is the statistic like?
Well, let me take police out of the way. Approximately there are 800, and I'm giving you figures as of the 28th of April this year. There are 880 police officers registered. Okay. And I must say, as we have begun to engage the RGPF, even they acknowledge that there are quite a few officers who are not registered. They are not registered, and two, quite a few are registered, but they are on the consolidated list. Okay. What is going to happen when an election comes around, and it is due by the 23rd of June next year? When the election comes around and that finally revised list is produced, they are going to be assigned a voting station on General Elections Day. And I don't think the hierarchy of the RGPF will take too kindly to their officer coming and ask for permission to vote. When the law is provided that they can vote, they will be able to vote 3 days before. So there are 880 thus far, and quite a few that are not reflected in that 880 because they are on the general list, one, or they are not registered as yet. So we work with them to get them in the proper affiliation. In terms of registration, up to the 28th of April, 92,267 persons are registered on that list. It does not include the 880 officers that I just indicated here, because this does not reflect on the consolidated list. Okay. So 92,267 from January to 28th of April, we had 500 and something plus persons getting registered, and from the last general elections, once the writ is issued, registration ceases. Okay. Once it is issued, and that's where Supervisor highlighted the rush that some people wait last minute, and then as soon as they hear that an election is on, they crowd the office like crazy to get registered. And some persons get quite irate because a due process is engaged. Yes. And they find they want that process to go forward, and so forth. So we are appealing to persons. But the writ was issued last general elections, registration ceased, and I think approximately 2 weeks after the elections, registration recommenced. And from that recommencement date to the 28th of April, we have had 5,600 and something persons getting registered. All right. So just to give you an idea of the figures, these figures are up to the 28th of April. Yeah, so we are quite a bit away from that time, and as Supervisor said, registration is continuous.
Okay. All right. Then we drew for a break. Let's take and we come back. We get into another segment of the conversation. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. Don't touch your dial.
Welcome to the island's boldest ATV experience. The only tour daring enough to bring you this level of excitement, freedom, and adrenaline. Feel the power. Conquer rugged trails. Experience breathtaking views. Ride beyond the ordinary. Feel the power. This is not just a tour. This is the power of Ride ATV. Get ready for fun. Get ready for excitement. Get ready to ride. Book now at ride.gd or call 473-422-1011. Ride ATV. Adventure starts here.
Attention East Side and all St. Andrew crew.
All you ready? Because Sunday, June 14th from 5 p.m. Progress Park St. Andrew is going full bingo madness mood as Megaforce Promotions presents Cars and Cash Mega Bingo for East Side Edition. Somebody leaving with not one but two Suzuki Ignis Sports. And that's not all.
Wait for it.
$50,000 in cold hard cash. Tickets are only $60 for one. Or grab the discount of $100 for two. And yes, free buses will be provided island-wide. So call your crew, organize your posse, charge your phone, and come get ready to shout bingo! Mega Bingo. Progress Park, St. Andrew. Get ready.
Brought to you by Carib. It's the way we play.
At 5 p.m. on August 5th, 1944, the schooner Island Queen sailed out of the St. George's Harbor. On board were some of Grenada's brightest and best sons and daughters. What happened afterwards remains a mystery.
Where Island Queen gone?
Heritage Theatre Company presents Lucy's Straw Hat, a full-length drama written and directed by Chris DeRiggs, a moving story about a family caught up in the drama of this great mystery. Meet Hyacinth, haunted and always ready to do mischief.
Rich man, he'll make him sign for you?
Lucy, beautiful and headstrong.
I had a dream, Mommy, but Hyacinth was there, holding my hand.
Lucy's Straw Hat at Grenada Trade Center on Saturday 13th and Sunday 14th June, and at the Luke Cinema on Saturday 20th and Sunday 21st June. Advance tickets $60, $75 at the door. Come join us.
Where Island Queen gone?
Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back, viewers, once again. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV, and of course, we have a representative here, including the Supervisor of Elections, of course, from the, on today's edition of To The Point. I do have another question, because we also want to engage our listening and viewing audience with us this morning. I want to ask this, what specific action will the Parliamentary Elections Office take to monitor and enforce the legal requirements that employers, grant workers that they prescribe that unobstructed time off to vote in general on election day? Okay, sometimes it's better for concern. You hear, of course, you may hear those sort of conversation. Well, I can't get the time at this time because of my job time and so forth. How does the Parliamentary Election Office fit in there?
Right. Well, the Parliamentary Office does not necessarily fit in per se. Every Grenadian has the right to cast their vote.
Yeah.
Okay? And time off must be given so that persons can do that. Okay? It is a constitutional right, and that is really and truly embedded in the Constitution, that the person have a right to cast their vote. So on the day of election, businesses, public offices must give employees that opportunity to go and cast their vote. All right.
Anything you want to chime in on that?
In practice, in this regard, we want to just appeal to persons because of experience. You do not want to create a hostile environment between employee, because at the end of the day you still have to go to work for that individual. And we have had experience where persons have actually felt that they were victimized. Okay, the time was given, they maybe stood their rights and they were given the time, but subsequent to that the relationship was not the best. And many of our employees are small, sole traders, well, not necessarily sole traders, but yes, very small businesses. So you do have to deal with quite a few persons on a personal relationship. So as much as it is your right, we want to appeal to potential voters who would be participating in that upcoming general election to ensure that you have a cordial relationship with your employer, and you seek very early to put arrangement structures in place to have that time off to vote. For example, persons working in St. George's and maybe voting in St. Mark or St. John's or wherever, make the arrangement, especially where it might be difficult to have an employee away for quite a bit of time. Make sure that structures work along with your employer to ensure that there's a smooth transition, your business continues to function. And, most importantly, although the law gives you weight in that matter, but that you maintain that quality of relationship with your employer after the fact, after voting.
All right. I'm seeing a question from someone via the WhatsApp. We may have answered it, but maybe just for clarification sake, of course, I ask you again. Someone is asking, can a person normally who don't reside in Grenada register and vote within a month?
All right, so let me just revert to the law to be able to answer that by implications of the law, okay? And I'm reading from section 10 under the same part.
Subject to Section 7, a person registered as an elector pursuant to dispatch shall remain registered unless and until his name is deleted from the current list by the Supervisor of Election, where the Supervisor of Election determines that since the publication of the current list, the person has A, died, left Grenada, and has not been ordinarily resident in that constituency for a period exceeding 12 months, not being a citizen of Grenada.
Okay.
Cease to be ordinarily resident for a period exceeding 5 years, being a citizen of Grenada. Become ordinarily resident in another constituency. Has an objection to his registration allowed, or otherwise cease to be qualified by virtue of this act or any other act. Now, the question is, can a person who normally
don't normally reside in Grenada register and vote within a month?
As long as that 5-year period has not elapsed.
Okay.
So I can go away. I can spend 2 years. Okay? But when I return to my place of residence. Do you understand? Okay. And I can register. Okay? And vote. Okay. Now, as it relates to a period within 1 month, I can't say that, right? But the fact is that if I travel, I may travel for various reasons, and I am within that 5-year period, I should be allowed to vote.
Okay, great.
And to be registered.
All right. Well, of course, it's time we're going to take some calls from our listeners and viewers. We do have our first callers. I beg of callers to be brief in your contribution so we can accommodate as many callers as possible. We do have our first call. Caller live, good morning.
Well, of course, Mr. Telesford, we always to the point and quite succinct. Good morning and good morning to your guests. I do appreciate having the presence of Mr. Pierre there this morning. Mr. Pierre, how are you?
I am good, and I do owe you a visit, so my apologies for being tardy.
No, well, you'll tell the public that. Listen, couple of observations before I start the meat of the matter, but I'll be brief as usual. One, the other gentleman, Mr. Phillip. Mr. Phillip, please be careful with the use of the verbal structure would have plus the past participle. It doesn't tell you what happened in the past. It tells you what might have happened had something else happened, okay? It doesn't confirm that what you say happened. The second thing is this, that relates to education for the young people, particularly through the secondary school stage. This is not anything new. When I was at school in the 60s, there was a subject matter called civics, and we studied from a book called Civics for Caribbean Schools. And that is where they were introduced to the civic duties. You see what has happened in Grenada here. The electoral authority has been sequestered by partisan politics. And so whenever they go into the schools without the authority of the parents, it would always seem partisan political. That is why people are rejected. I can only imagine. Well, I know, as a matter of fact. So let's leave that to the education system and civics as a subject matter to teach the children that as soon as they cross the border and hit the other rung, after 18, they will know what to do. 3. Registration. Registration should not be the duty of the electoral office. There should be a national civic registry or civil registry, which will deal with people of this country from birth to death, and of course those who migrate and choose Grenada as their home. They will decide who qualify for voting. This has been a scam, not your point, not your business, so you met it there, didn't you? But it's a scam, and that has to change. We'll put that forward in the new constitution, which we expect very soon in the next 5 years. Finally, my matter, Mr. Pierre, sir. The constitution, so-called, of this here country, the imperial order and council of Her Majesty's most excellent, the Queen's most excellent Majesty, states clearly in section 32, subsection 3, the latter part, that the vote shall be taken by ballot, and that the ballot should be executed in a manner as not to reveal for, and this prepositional clause phrase, is the most significant, for whom the elector votes. Note the verb votes in the simple present. That tells anyone who understands the English language well, and you don't have to be a lawyer to do that, that provisions for guaranteeing a secret ballot has to be done prior to the casting of the vote. In this here country, and according to the Representation of the People Act, I hope that Grenadian people say right there in a law established after the so-called Constitution violates the words of the Constitution. This matter has been put forward since 2011. We've been through 3 election cycles, and up to now nobody seems to be making an effort to correct this anomaly. And I beg the question, why? Why? Mr. Pierre, can you explain to me why? And why is it even speaking to you when you entered office? Up to now nothing has been done. Mind you, sir, I'm not speaking and challenge you. I'm challenging the system. Thank you very much. I hope you understand for what it's worth. You have a nice day, will you, gentlemen?
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much. Can I respond to
this has been an ongoing matter that has been brought to court, and there has been a verbal, and let me repeat, a verbal ruling on it. All right, as it is by the act of the response by the Parliamentary Elections Office has been basically the same. There are provisions made to accommodate a voter that is visually impaired. I know what the caller is alluding to now is the fact that that person has the right to do that voting without the aid of another person who might be privy to the vote that is cast.
Okay.
All right. If we have to do that, there are a number of things that would have to happen. The education of persons who are blind, etc., etc., and that is not necessarily possible at this particular time. Mr. Rolo did promise that there was a means by which that can be done, and I have taken it on my personal, and I'm talking about not the supervisor of election, but my Arthur Pierre personal interest to see exactly what he's talking about, and by doing so, if there is justification, if there is something that based on what he is proposing can be used, certainly I would take that on board and make that recommendation to the Governor General.
Okay. We do have another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. You're live. Good morning. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, GT. Good morning to the panel. GT, I'm glad you have the panel in because last week I asked a question to Winston Garvey, and I mentioned that 500 people from the diaspora will be coming for the homecoming and will be looking to register. Mr. Garvey said that we in the diaspora should be 12 months before the election, and if we come and register, we will be breaking the law. So the question I want to ask the guy to explain to us, a Grenadian citizen who live in the diaspora, what is the procedure that if we need to be there 12 months? My second question now, okay, I never vote in Grenada. All right, that'll be my first time to vote in Grenada. I want to know that if I want to register in a constituency, could I register in any constituency? And that's first time I'll be voting in Grenada.
Thank you, caller. Okay, let's answer the first question.
You cannot, first and foremost, let me answer the first question or the first comment that he made. It is not, and I would read the law again, it is not 12 months. Okay, let me just repeat, and this here is for the right to remain registered. Okay. If you have left, we are talking about persons now have that right to remain registered. If they left Grenada and has not been ordinarily resident in that constituency for a period exceeding 12 months, not being a citizen. So, for example, a Commonwealth citizen, a foreign citizen who is here, they must be in that constituency for 12 months.
Okay.
Now, the second point, cease to be ordinarily resident in Grenada for a period exceeding 5 years. So, if you are out in the diaspora, being a citizen of Grenada, cease to be ordinary resident in Grenada for a period exceeding 5 years, being a citizen of Grenada. So, if you're out there for 5 years, all right, I have the authority to remove you off the list.
Okay.
All right. Now,
One of the things that is critical here is the issue of becoming ordinarily resident. Now, there again, I would do the example again. I might go away for 2-3 years, but I live in a particular constituency and I have a particular address. Okay? When I return, that is the address I return to. Okay? So that here, now, when persons return, they have to show proof of address. That they and it's not a hotel, it's not a guest house. They have to show that they are living there. It's not just because you're paying, you have land and you're paying. You must be in a home, in a house, in a place where you are resident. Okay, so that is basically what it is. That's basically what it is. The second part of the question was, what can't you remember?
He was asking in reference to register in any place that he.
No, you cannot just go and register in any constituency. You return, you cannot just go and register in any constituency. You must be residing in that particular constituency. Okay. You must be ordinarily resident there. You must have an address there. You must have a home there. You must be there. Persons must know you from there. Okay? So that's basically what it is.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. We do have another caller. Caller live via WhatsApp. Good morning.
Good morning, Jay, and good morning to your guests. My question is pertaining to, I don't know if you said it before, but I just want to make sure that I hear it from your mouth. Now, after the Prime Minister would announce election, I want to know how many days after that is nomination day. And after nomination day, how many days after that is by law election could be called? The election day, I said, election day could be, right? So the nomination day, from the nomination day, the election day. So how many days in between? The nomination day from the Prime Minister announcing election to the nomination day, from the nomination day to election day. Give me the days by law. Have a nice day, sir.
Thank you, caller. Thank you.
Do you want to go ahead?
Go ahead and respond.
Okay, I'm subject to the law. I'm subject to correction here, but I do believe that the writ, from the issuance of the writ, I believe it is 14 days, and the longest period is that 14 days, and then that 21 days from the writ. Maximum period, 21 days from the writ. So let me just say something quickly here. And as I say, I'm subject to correction. I didn't really go over my notes on that area. But when up to this point in time, persons are registering. Yes. Lists are being produced. Mm-hmm. When the Prime Minister announces a date, and all our discussion here does not mean that he's going to announce a date next month or even 2-3 months down. He has until the 23rd of June. 2027. However, when he announces that date and the writ is then issued by the Governor General, up to that day, when that last day of registration, quite a few persons are being registered. A list subsequent to that writ being issued, a list will be produced. It's a preliminary list, and it does have the names of all persons who are registered and eligible to participate in the election. Now, that's not the final list. That's a preliminary list. And here, our officers or registration officers will be doing quite a bit of diligence. That is when a lot of our activists or interest groups or political parties, they will be canvassing the list, and they would be bringing up quite a bit of objections. We will be urging persons to check for claims and so forth to make sure that they are on the list. Because if you are not on the list come election day, you will not be allowed to participate. So finally, subsequent to that list, preliminary list being produced, and given the period for persons to check for claims and objections, a finally revised list will be produced. So again, we urge the public to be aware. But as again, I believe, and I hope Supervisor can correct me on that it is from the issuance of the writ until the general election, 21 days.
21 days, okay.
Yes, I want to read the law, but I think, for time, we would want to come back and deal with that specifically.
That's
it is something, sometimes persons can become a little bit confusing, but the law basically outlines it very, very clearly.
Okay, we do have another caller, which will be that caller will wrap up the calling segment for this morning. Caller, you're live. Good morning via WhatsApp.
Good morning.
Good morning. Go right ahead, please, caller.
Yes, good morning to the supervisor and his
the gentleman accompany him. Good morning to those listeners in Grenada and abroad. This morning, I want to ask the Supervisor of Elections to clarify for the Grenadian public, one, what is the difference between a Commonwealth citizen and a Grenadian citizen? And specifically for the purposes of registration, I'm asking him to direct us to the constitutional provision that directs his actions. What does it say? And who should be registered? Is it a Grenadian citizen or is it a Commonwealth citizen? Because that has been the subject of much debate, and it continuously goes to the law. Now, every law must be consistent with the supreme law, that is the Constitution of Grenada. He does not go to the Constitution, but his is a constitutional appointment, and he has to be guided by what the Constitution says. So if he can explain the difference for us, and why is it, where is it, does the Constitution speak to a Grenadian citizen? Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. And that was the final call-in segment for the morning.
Well,
to the caller.
Again, I would go to the law, because we are guided by the law. We are also guided by the Constitution. Unfortunately, I didn't work with my copy of the Constitution to be able to talk about that. But a citizen of Grenada is anybody who applies, well, born here, naturalized citizen, somebody who might be from another country, okay, and apply for citizenship here, or somebody coming from the Commonwealth. There are a number of countries that are referred to as Commonwealth. All of them fall under the British rule. They were colonies of Britain, and they are now Commonwealth countries. So the law makes provisions for Commonwealth citizens. All right. Again, from Section 6, all right, subject to Section 7, a person shall be entitled to be registered as an elector in any one constituency if he is a citizen of Grenada. Right, and I've just outlined all the way that you can become citizen. It's a Commonwealth citizen who has resided in Grenada for a period of at least 12 months immediately before the date of his registration. All right. Basically, persons are entitled to be registered if they are Commonwealth citizen, and they are entitled to vote if they are Commonwealth citizen. So persons, for example, from a number of the Caribbean countries, a number of countries like Europe and so, they are members of the Commonwealth.
Okay.
All right. So I don't know really and truly. Well, I don't have the Constitution here with me, so I cannot respond to the issues as it relates to the Constitution.
All right. Gentlemen, I'll give you opportunity to anything in closing before we take a wrap this morning.
What I would say, just to remind the general public, we have as a nation, I believe every nation has sought to, in terms of their voting processes, in terms of their selection of government, sought to ensure that there's inclusivity among all of their nation people. I would say here that Grenada has attained a very high rating in this regard in Latin America and the Caribbean. I think a #1 rating. That is not solely due to what happens within parliamentary elections office. It's every one of us, our business. And so we want to continue to encourage persons. We want to continue to engage persons to allow them to know that as you go through the RPA, you recognize that those who framed those legislation did see or did envision all of Grenada playing its part. And so we continue to crave the indulgence of every person, our callers, our civil society interest groups, our political parties. Every one of us play a role in ensuring that we have an electoral system that is the envy of quite a few. And as I say that, just recently we had one of the other territories a visit from a delegation from their country to see how we do what we do, so that they could improve on their own. So we continue to encourage and, desire the input of all persons concerned. Sometimes we may not always agree with the manner in which the interaction may take place. But we do crave your indulgence in this area, and we continue to encourage you. Our website is pugrenada.org, and we encourage you to get onto the website. To as the gentleman who called last week, I realize he's somewhat au fait with our constitution. Not just him alone, every one of us, because it is our business, and an informed nation is an empowered nation.
All right. Supervisor?
I just want to let the public know that, one, they need to get registered. This is 1 year after the last election, 1 year before the next election. So we asking persons to get registered. You can go on the website, as was indicated by Mr. Phillip, and there are the laws and everything that is there that you need to, read and, become familiar with. Okay? And get registered. There are persons out there, and I'm making another appeal. We have a number of ID cards waiting at the electoral offices for persons to pick up. Okay, we need to get that. So you need to really and truly get prepared for the next election, and don't just be misled by things that you hear. Okay, the laws are there, the information is there. Educate yourself, get to know what's going on, and be guided by what is there to be read and so forth. Don't just take, for example, what people are saying, but actually get into the law and have an idea what's happening.
All right. Gentlemen, once again, I want to thank you a lot for being on the program this morning and coming and share the information that you said, of course, to the listening and viewing public this morning. Hope folks understand most of the process that they may have some concerns in relation to. So hope to have you back as soon as, so that, of course, the other issues that come to the fore will be able to be clarified.
Of course.
Thank you both once again.
Thank you so much.
All right. Hey, folks, that's where we wrap today's edition of To The Point. Thank all who contributed towards today's program. Have a good one, folks. That's where we say goodbye.